All right. Sorry. Went downstairs. Ah. Went downstairs to go do a couple things while the show intro was starting, and then I took longer than I thought I would. How's everybody doing? Thursday night. I'm back after a day with a little bit of sickness, not for me, but for the family. Seems like the rest of the household is still sick, but I'm here, not standing, but sitting up straight, ready to give a good, or at least my best accounting on the scripture that we're going to read tonight. Welcome to this Bible study. I'm the host of this show, A Flawed Man of God, and excuse me, I say it's a Bible study because that's kind of what we're doing here right now. They're in the middle of a project going through the Bible cover to cover, Genesis through Revelation, and just doing reading and reacting to it, talking about it. And, that's just what we're doing right now with this show. Love to have you here if you're new to the show, regardless of whether you are a well established and well founded Christian, or you are somebody who's just seeking Christianity out and you want to learn more about things. Look, this is a very informal, very layperson approach. I'm going to tell you straight up, I'm not an expert on biblical texts, translations, any of that stuff. I'm not a graduate of seminary, not a pastor, okay? What I am an expert on is being a Christian. I've done it for 42 years, and it's been something that I've found deeply fulfilling, especially later on in life. And I want to share that. And that's kind of what this show and this YouTube channel is all about. It's just talking about Jesus. A lot of times we can feel like, me specifically, I know I feel this way, can feel like it's very awkward to come up and talk to somebody about Jesus. But we're called in the Great Commission. We're supposed to be disciples. We're supposed to go out there and try to introduce Christ to the masses who don't know or don't believe. I often feel like a cold call or just some whack job. It's always been difficult for me to kind of start that conversation. But if somebody ever asked me, and if somebody ever brought it up in conversation, I found that I would have a difficult time shutting up, or there was always something left unsaid. And so I'm like, okay, well, if I put something out there for people to come to, if they ever stumble across it, whether I'm live or this is something somebody's watching 10, 20 years from now, if YouTube's even still around then, maybe they'll get something out of this. I'm not stopping them, holding them up. I'm putting it out there. And if these folks want to, listen to what I have to say, listen to what the scripture says, then great. I've provided that for them. And not only that, I've got a whole organized channel where we talk about it. But we don't just do it for people who are going to consume it afterwards. We're also in the here and now. And that's why I say welcome to the small group, because we do have a great group of folks tuning in and night out. They're part of the chat. Maybe you just want to listen, and that's fine, but I really want to hear from you. Want to hear what you have to say. If you've got any questions, if you're, like I said, if you were somebody who's new to Christianity or just seeking it out, maybe there's some stuff you want to know. Maybe you just want to tune in and see what it's like seeing a bunch of us kind of hang out and talk about things. For the most part, it's me running my mouth. But make no mistake, folks. The chat is a big part of this. You can be a big part of this. I'd love for you to be part of this show. And with that said, how's everybody doing? Like I said, household is sick. Things kind of got away from me last night with that. That's when the first stages of the sickness started to show, and we had people throwing up and moving around lethargically and stuff like that. But it's nothing too terrible. Just that not everybody is at 100% right now. I'm doing okay for now. Hopefully that sticks around. And and yeah. So, which I always hate doing because I feel like, especially with Isaiah, we've got a lot of momentum going in with this book as we're reading through it. I know I was, and you'll hear me be either accurately or overly critical of myself and how Song of Solomon was handled. Kind of Proverbs and Psalms at times was a little bumpy. Um, while I can read them and enjoy them, talking about it's a little bit out of my wheelhouse. Ecclesiastes was a nice little change of pace there, but now we're in the Isaiah, and Isaiah is really, really fun. Really fun read. Really like Ecclesiastes, though in a different kind of way. It's really convicting because what we're seeing in Isaiah is Isaiah basically saying, being told by God and passing this along, but like, you've messed up so much that I've got to do something drastic to get your attention. And he's talking about Israel. And we still trying to understand, why do the Israelites act so silly? But when we're introspective, we act just as dumb. And we're just as disrespectful, misbehaving as they were in different ways. But our society is in a sad place. And you read what's going on in Israel and Judah, and you kind of go, man, that's not all that different. It feels like in some ways as it does here. The difference, I think, though, is as much as you hear me complain about going on to Christian Twitter and seeing how sometimes we interact with each other in wholly unbrotherly ways, and I hate seeing it, and I hate sometimes when I'm contributing to it. Where did I put it? Oh, it's over there. I hate when I'm contributing to it. But what I also see on there, and you don't hear me talk about it as much, and it's one of the reasons I'm still there, is that there are people in that space, and you can go to church and find them there. There are people who genuinely want to um, obey God and be better people. And it's not the holy rollers, it's not the Kenneth Copelands out there who are in expensive suits talking about give them money and that God will bless you if you give money to the church and all this other stuff, or you know whatever, that you can earn your way into salvation, or if you believe in yourself enough. It's not that. You see the folks who are humble and remorseful and open about how broken they are, and you find them, and you can find them anywhere, and you see how welcoming they are to their brothers and sisters in Christ, and how much they love to worship, how deeply they desire to be better. And maybe you're one of them. I would say I love my chat and how much we talk about this. You guys aren't the only ones out there, and y'all know it. Y'all know people that y'all go to church with or have gone to church with or just been around, family, friends, who knows? And you see it and you're like, man, that there's one of the that there's somebody who's better than me because they understand that how bad they are. And they treat other people like they love them and like they care about them. And there are enough of those people that exist in the world today, or in America today, or wherever, that maybe we're not as completely lost as Israel and Judah were at the times. But make no mistake, we are not doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're not behaving the way that we're supposed to be doing. And we need to stop letting the people who don't believe, who aren't interested in believing, or who will just wear faith as a costume, try to tell us what we should be doing and what we should believe is right and wrong, and how we need to change our faith. Strong in your principles. And sometimes I feel like the good folks are just sometimes too good-natured to fight back. And we see others who are weak and will capitulate. And hell, I know I have at times, and I'm sure you guys have too. With friends around you or in the moment, given your own temptation. We're all weak. We're all skipping leg day. Anyway, with that said, how's everybody doing? Alias is here. Matt Felty is here. Nico is here. Thad the Man is here. And Zero is here. How y'all doing? How y'all doing as we round out this week? We're going to talk. We're going to read some more of Isaiah. We're going to hear more talk about the coming Messiah. And again, it's just one of those things of when you read Isaiah, how do you not see Jesus in the prophecy? I can understand maybe being skeptical if you were in the moment and you hadn't seen the miracles yet, and you'd heard people be like, people just talking, they exaggerate and blah blah blah. Or yeah, someone said this, but when you look at what happens, and how it all plays out, how could you desire to follow God and believe in his prophets, believe in his word, and not follow Christ? We'll get into more of that today. Isaiah is such a good book for this. First off, hang on. Ailey said, been waiting since yesterday. Sorry for the wait, but I'm here. Never early or late. I arrive precisely when I mean to. Thad said, and the government shall be on his shoulders, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father. Yes. That was that Tuesday or Monday night we read that part? Alias said, I need a plane to continue listening to a Flawed Man podcast. Please donate. I can't donate a plane to you. And by all and guys, this is not a monetized channel, nor is this one where I want donations. If there's something you want to give to the show, give it to your church. Give it to your church. Do that instead. That's from Handel's Messiah. No, it's not, Thad. I'll tell you where it's from, because I know we were talking about it. Daggone it. Yeah. Chapter 9. Verse 6, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and he shall be called, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. There you go. But we've already read 9. Now we're going to read 10. What does Chaco want? There you go. All right. Isaiah chapter 10. Assyria is God's instrument. Woe, judgment is coming to those judges who issue evil statutes, to those magistrates who constantly record unjust and oppressive decisions, so as to deprive the needy of justice and rob the poor of my people of rightful claims, so that widows may be their spoil and that they may plunder the fatherless. Now, what will you do in the day of God's punishment and in the storm of devastation which will come from far away? To whom will you flee for help? And where will you leave your wealth for safekeeping? Nothing remains but to crouch among the captives or fall dead among the slain on the battlefield. In spite of all this, God's anger does not turn away, but his hand is still stretched out in judgment. Woe to Assyria, the rod of my anger against Israel, the staff in which I'm sorry, the staff in whose hand is my indignation and fury against Israel's disobedience. I send Assyria against a godless nation and commission it against the people of my wrath to take the spoil and to seize the plunder and to trample them down like mud in the streets. Yet it is not Assyria's intention to do my will, nor does it plan so in its heart. But it said instead, it is its purpose to destroy and to cut off many nations. For Assyria says, are not my princes all kings? Is not Calno conquered and Carchemish on the Euphrates? Is not Hamath subdued like Arpad, her neighbor? Is not Samaria in Israel like Damascus and Aram? As my hand has reached the kingdoms of the idols, whose carved images were greater and more feared than those of Jerusalem and Samaria, shall I not do to Jerusalem and her images just as I have done to Samaria and her idols? Declares Assyria. So when the Lord has completed all his work of judgment on Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, he will say, I will punish the fruit, the thoughts, the declarations, and the actions of the arrogant heart of the king of Assyria and the haughtiness of his pride. For the Assyrian king has said, I have done this by the power of my own hand and by my wisdom, for I have understanding and skill. I have removed the boundaries of the peoples and have plundered their treasures. Like a bull, I have brought down those who sat on thrones, and my hand has found the wealth of the people like a nest, and as one gathers eggs that are abandoned, so I have gathered all the earth. And there was not one that flapped its wing or that opened its beak and chirped. Is the axe able to lift itself over the one who chops with it? Is the saw able to magnify itself over the one who wields it? That would be like a club moving those who lift it, or like a staff raising him who is not made of wood like itself. Therefore, the Lord, the God of hosts, will send a wasting disease among the stout warriors of Assyria, and under his glory a fire will be kindled like a burning flame. And the light of Israel will become a fire, and his Holy One a flame, and it will burn and devour Assyria's thorns and briars in a single day. The Lord will consume the glory of Assyria's forest and of its fruitful garden, both soul and body, and it will be as when a sick man wastes away. and the remaining trees of Assyria's forest will be so few in number that a child could write them down. Hoo-hoo. Well, doesn't really look like things are going to shake out well for everybody or for anybody. It's a lot here. So let's start at the beginning. Judgment's coming for people who issue evil statutes. He's talking about the corruption in the justice system, one that is, well, God is, justice is of paramount importance to God. And understanding that the way that things are being run in Israel and Jerusalem, Judah at this time, we have corrupt officials. It's not the first time. We learned that it was it Samuel's sons? I think it was Samuel's sons and their corruption that kind of brought forth a little bit of the motivation behind the people asking for a king. Because it seemed like so many times when a hero would rise up, his sons will have taken advantage of the good things that their father established. And so Samuel's dying and he doesn't have anybody Samuel's getting older in age. They don't really see any leader rising up to take his place, and that's why they ask for a king. They lose faith in the Lord that he will bring something else, and they'll get a little bit of faith in themselves that they can't behave. And of course, there's precedence on that end, at least, that the Israelites can't behave. But God is saying, look, y'all have corrupted this system. Judgment, you have sat in judgment and judged corruptly and deceitfully. Judgment's coming for you. And the people we go back, the people that I told you to look out for, poor, the widows, the orphans, you have preyed upon them. And that's specifically the opposite of what I said to do. You were supposed to protect them. And basically, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do when I show up with punishment? Who's going to help you? Where are you going to hide all your ill-gotten goods and riches? This says there's anything for you to do is other than to die on the battlefield or be carried away as a slave. But God's not. And just as he ended chapter 9 here, he's going to continue here. God's still not done. But not just that. Woe to Assyria, the rod of my anger. He said, look, Assyria's going to come and they're going to break you off. They're going to raze your towns and cities. They're going to plunder your riches and they're going to drag your people away as slaves. But that's just because, and I think this is more of God showing this is what I'm doing when I'm removing my protection, right? Assyria is going to act like Assyria does. So I'm going to use that as a weapon. They're not doing it because I told them to. They're not going to do it for some righteous cause. They're going to do it because they're barbarians and they're going to act like that. Because I send Assyria against a godless, but then he gets real, um convicting here. I send Assyria against a godless nation and commission it against the people of my wrath to basically destroy it. Yet it is not Assyria's intention to do my will, nor does it plan to do so in its heart. All it's there is to destroy, cut off, subjugate, and plunder. Because Assyria, look, this is what we do. This is what we do. This is why our nation is great. We come in and we come in with this mighty army. We beat the crap out of you. We take you over, and then you're one of our tributaries, one of our fiefs, our territories. He says, "Oh wait, but let me back up a bit. As my hand has reached to the kingdom of the idols whose carved images were greater than more feared than those of Jerusalem and Samaria." Notice we see uh, God reference Israel less as Israel, which is the name he gave to Jacob, right? And the reason why they're called Israelites, the reason why they call the place Israel, the promised land Israel. They've gotten so far away that God is referring to them less and less as Israel and more as Samaria. Shall I not do to Jerusalem and her images just as I had done to Samaria and her idols, declares Assyria. I'm going to do the same to you. So when the Lord has completed all his work of judgment on Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, he will say, I will punish the fruit of the arrogant heart of the king of Assyria. So after you're done, I guess this is in essence the breaking the sword that you use to execute someone you cared about who had done great evil. Right. Once he's done with this, Assyria is going to be broken as well. He says, is the axe able to lift itself over the one who chops with it, or a saw able to magnify itself over the one who wields it? Yeah. They're just the vehicle. I'm the driving force. Therefore, the Lord, the God of hosts, will send a wasting disease among the stout warriors of Assyria, and it will burn and devour Assyria's thorns and briars in a single day. During a single night, this prophecy was fulfilled. Don't believe it. It just happens. 2 Kings 1935. So let's go back and revisit 2 Kings 1935. God answers through Isaiah. Then Isaiah, the son of Amoz, sent word to Hezekiah saying, thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, I have heard your prayers to me regarding Sennacherib or Sennacherib, king of Israel, Assyria. This is the word that the Lord has spoken against him. Blah, blah, blah. We're talking about, Isaiah. He says some other stuff. Hang on. Here it goes. Then it came to pass that night that the angel of the Lord went forth and struck down 185 185,000 men in the camp of the Assyrians. When the survivors got up early in the morning, behold, all 185,000 of them were dead. The king of Assyria left and returned home to live and lived at Nineveh. Remember that place. Tuck that place away. We're going to revisit that a few books later from here. Lived at Nineveh. It came about that as he was worshiping in the house of Nisroch, his god, that the sons of Adramelech and Sherezer, I think, killed him with a sword, and they escaped into the land of Ararat, and Esarhaddon, his son, became king in his place. So yeah, they go up there, they make all this war, they conquer Israel and Syria, and they lay waste to Jerusalem. And afterwards, it's like, okay, y'all have made your point. Now I'm getting rid of you guys too. And it happens as God says it happens. 185,000 men dead is a big deal. Imagine the smell. A remnant will return. Now, in that day, the remnant of Israel and those of the house of Jacob who have escaped will never again rely on the one who struck them, but will truly rely on the Lord, the Holy One of Israel. A remnant will return, a remnant of Jacob to the mighty God. For through your people, O Israel, may be as the sand of the sea, only a remnant within them will return. The destruction is determined, it is decided and destined for completion, overflowing with justice, righteous punishment. For the Lord, the God of hosts, will execute a complete destruction, one that was decreed in the midst of all the land. Therefore, the Lord God of hosts says this: O my people who dwell in Zion, do not be afraid of the Assyrian who strikes you with a rod and lifts up his staff against you as the king of Egypt did. For yet a very little while, and my indignation against you will be fulfilled, and my anger will be directed toward the destruction of the Assyrian. The Lord of hosts will brandish a whip against them like the slaughter of Midian at the rock of Oreb, and his staff will be over the Red Sea, and he will lift it up the way he did in the flight from Egypt. So it will be in that day that the burden of the Assyrian will be removed from your shoulders, and his yoke from your neck. The yoke will be broken because of the fat. The Assyrian has come against Aeth in Judah. He has passed through Migron with his army. Michmash, he stored his equipment. They have gone through the path, saying, Gebo will be our lodging place for the night. Ramah trembles, and Gibeah, the city of Saul, has fled. Cry aloud with your voice in consternation, O daughter of Gileam or Galim. Pay attention, Lachish. Answer her, Anathoth. Madmena has fled, and the inhabitants of Gebim have fled with their belongings to safety. Yet today the Assyrian will halt at Nob, the city of priests. He shakes his fist at the mountain of the daughter of Zion, at the hill of Jerusalem. Listen carefully. The Lord, the God of hosts, will lop off the beautiful boughs with terrifying force. The tall in stature will be cut down, and the lofty will be abased and humiliated. He will cut down the thickets of the forest with an iron axe, and Lebanon, the Assyrian, will fall by the mighty one. So, this is kind of continuing on the same statement, right? He goes, look, Israel, there's not going to be much left of you guys. But once my anger is done, and don't think that this is a tantrum or a heat of the moment thing that God is doing. God is in complete control all the time. This is something that needs to happen. This is something one could make a pretty good argument for, I think, that God views has been a long time coming with the behavior of Israel for generations, even before the kings. And so it's time to get these people's attention. But once that's done, once the punishment has been doled out, don't worry about the Assyrians who came here and were part of that punishment. God's going to take care of them. And that's basically what he says here, through here. And Lebanon the Assyrian will fall by the mighty one. The righteous reign of the branch. Then a shoot, the Messiah, will spring from the stock of Jesse, David's father, and a branch from his roots will bear fruit. And the Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and strength, the Spirit of knowledge, and of the reverential and obedient fear of the Lord. He will delight in the fear of the Lord, and he will not judge by what his eyes see, nor make decisions by what his ears hear. But with righteousness and justice, he will judge the poor and decide with fairness for the downtrodden of the earth. He shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall slay the wicked. And righteousness will be the belt around his loins, and faithfulness will be the belt around his waist. And the wolf will dwell with the lamb, and the leopard will lie down with the young goat, the calf and the young lion and the fatted steer together, and the little child will lead them. And the cow and the bear will graze together, and their young will lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox, and the nursing child will safely play over the hole of the cobra. And the weaned child will put his hand on the viper's den and not be hurt. They will not hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth will be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the water covers the sea. Then, in that day, the nations will make supplications to the root of Jesse, who will stand as a signal for the people, and his resting place will be glorious. Y'all catching these themes? You should be. You should be. If you don't, let's go through it. All right, so they're talking about the Messiah, right? It's coming from the line of David, right? So they use the stock of Jesse, David's dad. And this Messiah will come, and he will have basically the Holy Spirit will be with him. Wisdom and understanding, counsel and strength, knowledge and reverential and obedient fear of the Lord. All things we see in Jesus. Top to bottom. He will delight in the fear of the Lord. He will not judge by what his eyes see, nor make decisions by what his ears hear. And again, what we see through the behavior of Jesus as we go through the Gospels, keep this in mind. I'm not sure how we're going to handle it when we get there, but we might find ourselves oftentimes referring back to Isaiah and other places in the Old Testament. But with righteousness and justice, he will judge the poor and decide with fairness for the downtrodden of the earth. And again, who do we see Christ reaching out to the most? His disciples, mostly, folks of low social standing, tax collectors, not very popular people, obviously. Fishermen. These aren't scholars and priests. In fact, none of them are priests. And who do we see Jesus interact with? The woman at the well, the woman getting ready to be stoned, Mary Magdalene. The lepers, the blind, the paralyzed. People that society had cast out. And then again, this is the Jerusalem, or this is Jerusalem under Roman occupation. These people are still supposed to be looked after. But everybody just kind of ignores them. They're not treating everybody the way they should be treated. Jesus acknowledges them and heals them and forgives them. Righteousness will be found the belt around his loins, and faithfulness the belt around his waist. Basically everybody's singing Kumbaya and getting along together. In essence, there's probably way more. What do I say? There's probably way more meaning here that I'm picking up. But with even the little bit that I've been able to glean from the first 4 or 5 verses here speaks volumes. Then in that day, the nations will make supplications to the root of Jesse, who will stand as a signal for the peoples, and his resting place will be glorious. What have we seen? What do we see in the what do we see happen with Christianity upon the ascension of Jesus? Suppressed, tried to be stamped out, but it grows, spreads, like I said, spreads like a wildfire. And Rome eventually becomes Christian. And then Europe and other places as well. In Americas, in South America. Reaching into Russia. And if it wasn't for some of our own behavior and some pretty those filthy communists, the Far East. The restored remnant. Then it will happen on that day that the Lord will again acquire with his hand a second time the remnant of his people, who will remain from Assyria, from Lower Egypt, from Pathros, from Cush, from Elam, from Shinar, from Hamath, basically Assyria, Egypt, Ethiopia, Persia, Babylon, Iraq, Aram, and from the coastlands bordering the Mediterranean Sea. He will lift up a signal for the nations and assemble the outcasts of Israel, and will gather the dispersed of Judah from the 4 corners of the earth. And the jealousy of Ephraim will depart, and those who harass Judah will be cut off. Ephraim will not be jealous of Judah, and Judah will not harass Ephraim. Ephraim and Judah will unite and swoop down on the slopes of the Philistines toward the west. Together they will plunder the sons of Arabs of the east. They will possess Edom and Moab, and the sons of Ammon will be subject to them. The Lord will utterly destroy the tongue of the sea of Egypt, and with his scorching wind he will wave his hand over the river, and he will strike and divide it into 7 channels, and make it possible for people to walk over in sandals. And there will be a highway from Assyria for the remnant of his people who will be left, just as there was for Israel in the day when they came up out of the land of Egypt. Sorry, hold on. Hey, folks. So we see a couple of footnotes here. The outcast of Israel scattered. The jealousy of Ephraim will depart. This a reference to the 10 northern tribes. Israel split into 2 kingdoms after Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, became king. Jeroboam ruled the city of Shechem in the north, and Rehoboam ruled in the city of Jerusalem in the south. So that's where that's coming from. They will be reunited. And that's really the only thing there. But I think this is a let's see what Isaiah 11:11 is all about. there's any other. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. There's prophecy in here, but I'm not picking up anything other than more than what I'm being told here. Israel's going to reunite. The Israelites will reassemble and bring back to their homeland. Israel, or the Lord will create paths through the Sea of Egypt and the Euphrates River, allowing the people to return to their land as he did during the Exodus from Egypt. I think there's some dispensationalism, or a lot of dispensationalists look at this. Still need to get a dispensationalist on here to talk kind of their perspective on Christianity, just to kind of give you a bit of an idea, what they're all about. A lot of evangelicals, non-denominationals, kind of share, I think, similar viewpoints, and you'll find dispensationalists very common among them. I don't think I share in a lot of their opinions or conclusions, but that's what we got there. All right, y'all been quiet. And so that and thus we have wrapped up our reading. I know y'all are there. I know y'all are listening, and I appreciate y'all being there. Please don't be afraid to speak up. I will address what you have to say. And I'm sure that you guys have lots to say that is probably way more meaningful than what I have to say. Serrano's just got home. Well, I'm just closing up shop here. All right, so that's Isaiah for the Isaiah for this week. We are still in the beginning stages of it. We still not even halfway. We're not even a quarter of the way through yet. Just awesome. Listening intensely, walking, darning a backpack. That's good, right? And I haven't seen Porcupine in a while in the chat, but it's just something he used to, when he was working on his bus, used to be something he listened to. That's cool. That's kind of what I do. Y'all listen to way more wholesome stuff than I listen to, and I'm usually listening to something like Keno Casino, which I shouldn't be. Or baseball, which might be more stressful for me because the Reds blow a 6-1 lead against the Giants. So irritating. Anyway. No, you don't. No. We await the return of Blaine's escape corner. Have you heard about the Toe's latest win? No, I don't care about the Toe. So that stuff I'm done with. I'm more, look, I didn't know anything about Darkside Phil before I started listening. Dude, all right. Good friend of mine used to run the camp local to here. He lives in Prince Edward Island. Okay. And just so you guys get in, I don't think they've really explained how small that area is. I mean, it's a very big island, very large piece of land. But what my buddy who moved there described to me is that it's that big, but it's the same population as the county I live in. And I don't live in a big county, right? We don't have a metropolitan city in our county. But we've got um, PRW apparently streams out of there, and this whole JF thing, and I didn't know anything about him either. I only knew about like the stuff in the sector, um, just from references that folks I knew made. I never listened to uh, Ralph, um, though on the later side when Nick was healthy, right, and covering kind of the Ralph escapades. I would hear about that, and I'm like, and that Joker used to live, you know, a few miles from, not too many miles from here. Um, yeah, no, we're not. I'm just saying, I'm talking about how much I didn't know about all this stuff, right? I didn't know about any of this stuff going on. But the JF thing and the fact that is he apparently has fled Prince Edward Island, but like there's still like these women in Prince Edward Island who are like obsessed with true crime or whatever that are like on his case about him. That whole thing is wild, and that has got my interest, right? And it's very suspicious, right? And this dude is clearly not a good guy. And hoping that the Mounties always get there, man. There used to be a TV show, didn't they? Have the where a Mountie became a cop was a cop in America. I can't remember. Um, Ralph's such a clown. All this, and you know what? Know them by yes, I think so. Gary Epi or something. Yeah, I think that's the guy, right? That's the JF guy. And you know, I mean, I'm talking about it like I'm a boomer or whatnot, but you know, the fruit of the sector is exactly what you're seeing. All these people, even people that we care about, have um um all these guys have fallen into debauchery, and it's just a sad state. We all need Jesus, but I think some of these folks have either have a very misplaced sense of who Christ is and what he represents, um, or they don't have him. They don't know him at all, and I really feel sad for these folks. I mean, they're in these situations because of their own actions, their own personalities, their own egos a lot of times. But it's like it's like seeing an addict, right? It's like seeing somebody who it's instead of a substance abuse, it's their own brand, it's their own it's what they their own um desires, their own sense of self. The DSP is a great example of that. The man seems like he's a lot of these people just need to unplug, get off of the internet, go out and get a job, start going to church, their faith in the Lord. Um, and there you have it. But so many of these folks are never going to get there. Well, I don't say never, but are not on that trajectory. They're too obsessed with The hedonism, the debauchery, the attention, the grift. And it's just sad to see. And that's why I mean that and I think that that's just a good reminder for us of why we need to folks we don't even like. And folks who are disappointing us because you know they can be better. They need prayers too. God took a man who had murdered Christians and blinded him on a road to Damascus. And he turned into one of the most influential Christians of all time. Wrote much of the Old Testament. Nobody's beyond redemption until it's too late. Manuel said, I like all this internet stuff. It's just you can't take it seriously. Don't worry, I take this show seriously. It's good. It's all fun and games, and like that's part we like you talking about the internet, blood sports, and yelling at each other and everything. But and it all seems good, like good fun, and we're all having a good time until it's been taken too far. And that's what we've seen with these guys. Right? It's good to see a few guys kind of get above it. Like Jim is a good example, though he's dying. Hopefully uh, he's turning to Christ. I've heard, I've seen little bits and pieces back when I back when he was tweeting a little bit more a few years ago. Um, you know, we want everybody to make it. Not everybody's going to, especially with the swatting, but not just the swatting, the drugs, right? The drugs and the swinging and the other, unmentionable stuff that these folks are getting into or I've gotten into that have ruined their lives. But they can't, so many of them just can't walk away from it. It's become so much of their own identity. And that's why I said it's like looking at an addict. Can't stop. And I don't know what it is that causes that. It's not, look, I can I can be arrogant with the best of them. But I've never been in a height uh that I couldn't be humbled and understand it. I haven't risen to those. Like I haven't been in that area. Air. It's pride. Everything. Vanity. All is vanity. Right. We go back to Ecclesiastes. There's a nastiness to some of the things that we enjoy. Right. And there's a and I think the state of what you see so many of these people in is a reminder of that. Even folks, I don't think JF was ever a good guy. Right? Some folks were always bad actors. Other folks we've seen, it corrupts them. Good folks. and they end up hollowed out, devour you from the inside out, corrupted. And they're not alone. We've seen that. It happened to David. King David thought he could do what he wanted. Summon Bathsheba up. That man ended up killing her husband over that. Lost the child as punishment. Renee's got a big point on pride. And sometimes we can put blinders on to things that we are doing that are toxic because they're funny in the moment. And maybe you can get, and it's like alcohol. Maybe you can get away with a little bit, but if you keep imbibing on it, you keep feeding on it, it'll kill you spiritually. And again, that's what the fruit of what we've seen that behavior be. We have to be careful. Okay, I'm not trying here to shame anybody, but as a warning, we need to be careful. We're better than this. We're better than our worst moments. We're worse than our best moments. But we've got to learn. Daggone it. Emmanuel, right in front of me, got right ahead of me on that. We got to understand what the warning signs, and some warning signs are people. Consuming negative content as a negative on yourself. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I can't argue that. Right. Yeah, that's right. That me looking at some of Stewart's tweets. Oh, dude, I have been on a rampage lately, and the latest Stewart meta right now is has been me just irritated by these people who just want to engagement farm on the faith, and I really put that in the same category of trying to selling stuff in front of the temple. You're grifting by sowing discord between brothers and sisters in Christ because it gets you likes, it gets you more shares, it gets you a lot of comments, it gets you paid. That kid, Cameron Riker, irritates the snot out of me because he asked these baiting questions. Oh, honest question for Protestants. And then a guy who knows what he's talking about. And I'm not trying to say that Cameron is annoying because he's Catholic. That's not the point. That's not where he is irritating me. Lots of people intelligently arrive to Catholicism, just like a lot of people intentionally arrive to different Protestant doctrines. Becomes up there honest question for Protestants, and then we'll engage in debate, right? But the moment somebody like the other Paul gives him something real to respond to, crickets. None of these folks will respond to any comments alleging that they're grifters. And I think that's because they know if they ignore, they're supposed to ignore that. They don't want to bring attention to that, so they don't engage with it, and they won't engage in hard questions. And it's not a Catholic thing. There seems to be a lot of that in my algorithm. But a lot of times they're responding to equally trollish and baiting Protestant accounts. Sola Chad, Indiana Bruner. And that it it pisses me off. Most of these people don't know enough. They're like me. They don't know enough about their faith to get into that deep of an argument out there, or to say, oh, Protestants so dumb, or oh, Catholics so dumb. They don't know enough about Catholics. They don't know about their own faith. They don't know about Protestants or whatever to get into a meaningful debate over something. All they're doing is rehashing. It's a stupid cycle of, oh, I read this on Reddit. Oh, I read this, or I saw this on Instagram. Oh, I saw this on Twitter. It's all these gotchas. You end up sounding no different than the idiot atheists out there. Oh, Protestants can't explain this. Oh, Catholics can't get around this. Okay, no, but even though, you'll see plenty of people out there with intelligent responses. You don't have to agree with them. You might think that they're wrong. Don't think that they can't rationalize it. And I hate that that's out there. And that's been so much of my negative interactions recently. So sorry. So I apologize for acting foolish. To get to me. Irritates me. And yeah, to the Elon bucks. I mean, Riker has said it himself. His entire paycheck exists because of his YouTube and Twitter and Instagram presence. So all that bait and everything, it's all money. And I don't see any glory given to any of it. And he shouldn't, because none of his behavior brings any glory to God. Serrano says, yeah, they're just in it for the engagement. They clearly do not care about actually spreading their beliefs positively, trying to convert people. Yeah, that's the other thing. Look, you're talking to people who do genuinely believe, oh, you don't actually worship. Oh, you do. You worship Mary. You don't actually worship God. Go out and find people who don't have any idea of what God is. Don't have Jesus in their hearts. Don't have any. There's plenty of them out there. We've got them. You can go right down the street, even in the Bible Belt, and find them. Go get those people. If you were really worried about growing the kingdom of God, you wouldn't be doing this nonsense. They can't help themselves, though, because it's what gets them attention. That's the difference between a Riker and a Keith Foskey. Or a Sola Chad and a Lutheran satire. Ugh. It's like people who don't know anything about mechanics pouring oil onto a radiator just for clicks in it. Yeah, I bought it. That's the thing. I bought a car. Now I've got an account to talk about cars. Like I know all about the different cars and what makes them run. Nernea said the best people on Twitter are people I met IRL and keep in contact with. I took a class in North Carolina, I'm assuming, and we sat around the fire until early morning talking about Bible stuff. And like, kid who's running, I shouldn't say kid, the young man who's running the children's ministry at my old church, love that guy to death. He came from a university with let's say some Pentecostal roots. But talking to him, he's non-denominational, and he went to, but there were Orthodox students there. There were Baptist students there. There were students from different denominations there, and they could have some of the best conversations with each other. And I find that as well. So I hate seeing it when we try to sow division. And just because it makes us internet popular. And then you're in love with your own brand. Anyway. All right. So that's the show. Got us talking after we got some good reading. Nerneyev, Emmanuel, Serranos, Dad the Man. Emmanuel, go back and catch the beginning when we're actually talking about the good substance of the good book. Alias. Matt Felty. Zero. Nico. It's been nice. It's been nice, guys. This is the end of the week, so I'll be hopefully maybe streaming on Monday. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen on Monday with the weather and softball. So, but guys, have a nice, safe weekend. Be productive. Get some rest. Spend time in fellowship. Go to church, guys, and like I said, just enjoy your weekend. Enjoy what God has blessed you with, and remember Him, worship Him, and be mindful. All right, everybody, have a very good night and a good weekend, and God bless.